everyone back tonight with Ezekiel chapter 1, and talks about Ezekiel and Babylon. It says this is, of course, Ezekiel's taken to Babylon from the exile. When Babylon attacked Israel and carried the Jews back to Babylon, which is out right today. So chapter 1, Ezekiel and Babylon. In the 13th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th day of the month, as I was among the exiles by the Chebar Canal, which is in Iraq today, the heavens were open, and I saw visions of God. So this is when God appears to Ezekiel. On the 5th day of the month, it was the 5th year of the exile of King Jehoiachin. The word of the Lord came to Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans, which is Iraq, by the Chebar Canal. And the hand of the Lord was upon him there. The glory of the Lord. This is when God appears to Ezekiel. As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with the brightness around it, and fire flashing forth continually, and in the midst of the fire, as it were, gleaming metal, and from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures. So first this cloud appears with fire and lightning and all this stuff going on. All of a sudden, these 4 angels appear to Ezekiel. He says, let's see, verse 5, and from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearances. It says they looked human, but each have 4 faces, and each of them have 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the sole of a cow's foot. So these angels look human. They have like a human body. They have 4 heads, and they have straight legs, but they have feet of a cow, from what it seems like. And they sparkle like burnished bronze. So they are beautiful in appearance, pretty much. Under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands. So of course they have wings. It says under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands, and the 4 had their faces and their wings thus. Their wings touched one another. Each one of them went straight forward without turning as they went. So seems like these angels. It says right here in verse 8, it says under their wings, on their 4 sides, they had human hands, and the 4 had their faces and their wings thus. Their wings touched one another, which they do. Each one of them went straight forward without turning it as they went. As for the likeness of their faces, each had a human face. So, of course, angels are not what we think they look. They're not humans with wings. They're terrifying creatures. If one ever appeared to you, it would scare you to death, literally, probably. And they are frightening creatures. But I mean, you know, they're of God, but they are frightening. They're not what you think they look. It says, each had a human face. The 4 had the face of a lion on the right side. So there's 4 faces so angels have 4 faces, pretty much. These creatures have 4 angels. Or, my bad, these creatures have 4 faces. One face was the face of a human. So the 4 had the face of a lion on the right side. The 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. And the 4 had the face of an eagle. So these angels, these 4 creatures, look human. They have human hands. They have like a human body. Their legs and of course their feet are like a cow's foot, or like cow's feet. And of course they have wings. And they have 4 faces. One is of a human face. The other one is of a lion. The other one is the face of an ox. And the other one is the face of an eagle. It says, such were their faces, and their wings were spread out above. Each creature had 2 wings, each of which touched the wing of another, while 2 covered their bodies. The reason why they covered their bodies by their other 2 wings is because they're in the presence of God. God's holy, and they can't come to the throne of God without covering themselves because He's so holy. Each went straight forward wherever the Spirit would go. This is just talking about God. They went, so wherever God goes, the angels follow Him, without turning as they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire. So they were like, so when these angels appeared, it was like they were on fire. I believe it was something like the fire of God. Talks about they were burning with fire. The appearance of the torches moving to and fro among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. So lightning came from these creatures. And the living creatures darted to and fro by the appearance of flash of lightning. So these animals, these creatures, these angels, these creatures are very fast. They move at the speed of lightning like that. And they're very fast. Wherever God goes, they go, and they look very frightening. They have 4 faces. They have the appearance of a human body. They have human hands. They have legs. They have for feet. They have like cow's feet. They have 4 faces. One face is of a human. Other face is of a lion. Other face is of an eagle. Other face is of an ox. They look frightening. They're angels. They look frightening. It says, now as I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the earth, and beside the living creatures, one for each of the 4 of them. Read that again. 15. Now as I looked at the living creatures, which are the angels, I saw a wheel on the earth beside the living creatures, one for each of the 4 of them. So these creatures, these angels, have these little wheels that follow them. As for the appearance of the wheels and their construction, their appearance was like the gleaming of beryl, which is a precious stone. And the 4, so they're very beautiful. And the 4 had the same likeness, their appearance and construction being as it were a wheel within a wheel. So these wheels also have a wheel inside of them. So when they went in any of their 4 directions without turning as they went. And their rims are tall and awesome. And the rims of all 4 were full of eyes all around them. So these big, huge wheels that follow these angels, that of course follow God, these wheels are full of eyes, and they just look, they just look. I don't know. They look crazy, to be honest. But it's just it's one of the things in heaven. Heaven, the things in what we think of heaven to be like is not what's going to really be like. The angels don't look like the way we think they look. They're terrifying. And these wheels that follow these angels, that follow God, have eyes all over them. It's terrifying, but yet they're of God though. But it's just amazing how angels really look. How these wheels are covered in eyes. How it's just amazing how what heaven's really going to be like. It says and the rooms were tall, awesome, and the rooms of all the 4 were full of eyes all around. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went beside them, and when the living creatures arose from the earth, the wheels rose. Wherever the Spirit wanted to go, they went, which is the Spirit of God. Wherever the Spirit of God went, the angels will follow, and these wheels will follow. So then the wheels arose along with them, for the Spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. So the Spirit of these angels were in the wheels, hence all these wheels will follow the angels. The angels will follow God. When those went, these went, and when those stood, these stood, and when those rose from the earth, the wheels rose along with them, for the Spirit of the living creatures was in the wheel. So basically, what it's saying is, whenever the angels will sit down, the wheels will sit down, because the Spirit of the angels were running these wheels. Whenever the angels will get up and leave, these wheels will get up and leave with them, because the Spirit of the angels are inside these wheels that are covered in eyes, and they're all following God. The angels in these wheels. Verse 22 says, over the heads of the living creatures that there was the likeness of an expanse. So something appeared over these angels, shining like awe-inspiring crystal, spread out above their heads. And under the expanse, their wings were stretched out straight, one towards another, and each creature had 2 wings covering its body, because they're in the presence of God. And when they went, I heard the sound of their wings, like the sound of many waters, the sound of the Almighty, who's God, Jesus Christ, and a sound of tumult, like the sound of an army. So when these angels would leave, their wings would sound like thunder, pretty much. Very thundering sound. And when they went to her, it says, my bad, it says, verse 25. It says, when they stood still, yeah. Verse 25, and there came a voice from above the expanse over their heads, which is God. When they stood still, they let down their wings. And above the expanse over their heads there was the likeness of a throne, which is the throne of God. In appearance like sapphire, and seated above the likeness of the throne was a likeness with a human appearance, is of course Christ. Christ is human. He's God. He's God in human form. So that's Jesus sitting on the throne, appearing to Ezekiel. And upward from what had the appearance of his waist, I saw as it were a gleaming metal, like the appearance of fire enclosed around. So the throne of God, the throne of Christ, has fire surrounding it. And downward from what had the appearance of his waist, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and there was brightness around him, which is his glory. Of the appearance of the bow, which is the rainbow that is in the cloud on the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness all around. It seems like the fire is around the throne of God. It seems like a rainbow surrounds it. Lightning flashes forth from it. Such was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord, and when I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard the voice of one speaking. That's when God speaks to him. Chapter 1 is very amazing in Ezekiel. It talks about Ezekiel's in Babylon. He's exiled there after Israel falls to Babylon. The Jews are exiled to Babylon in Iraq, and that's where Ezekiel is at right now. And then of course God appears to him, and just like when he appears to Ezekiel, it's terrifying how all this happens. How the angels look, with four faces, with the body of a human, but they have four faces. They have a face of a human, they have a face of a lion, of an ox, and an eagle. They have hands and legs, or arms, hands, and legs, but the feet are like of a cow, and they have wings, of course. It's just amazing how angels really look. They're not what you think they are. They look totally. If one, like I said, if one appeared to you right now, it would terrify the crap out of you, to be honest. Angels, are the Christian. They were created by God, of course. But they would terrify you. But they're not gonna hurt you because they're of God. But they're terrifying. They would terrify you. But then you have these wheels that are covered in eyes that follow these angels. That these angels follow God. They all follow God. All at once. It says here that the throne of God has fire around it. Lightning shoots from it. A rainbow surrounds it. It's just amazing. What the throne of Christ looks like. It's nothing, that you would think it looks. If you were to actually see an angel right now, you would be so terrified you'd probably pass out. I think that's what happens to Ezekiel here later on. I think he passes out. He's just so terrified of these creatures and angels and how they really look. Again, the throne of God, throne of Christ. It says, it talks about how fire and lightning comes from it, and it's surrounded by a rainbow. And it's just amazing how when you read the Bible, how things really look from what you've been taught ever since you were a little kid. But yeah, it's awesome yet terrifying at the same time to think how angels really look, and to think how God's throne really looks. But that's God, man. He made the angels like that. And he made his throne to look like that also. So it's chapter 1 of Ezekiel, Ezekiel and Babylon, the glory of the Lord. I'm back with chapter 2 here shortly.